What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. Today we're going to do a bit of a Q&A. I asked you guys to watch the reveal and then shoot me the questions that you wanted answered most. I got some hands-on time, and I very much spent that time with your questions in my mind so I could answer them. So, here's the deal. We're going to go through those questions, as many as we can. I got about 7 pages of them. There were plenty I couldn't get to. If you got more, hit the comments section of this video. I'll go in there and answer more questions after this video is posted. Or if you're on Twitter, shoot me some questions on Twitter. I'll be happy to be answering them there all day. All right, we're going to start off with Rampage in 007. How does it look on console? Look, it looks fantastic on console. It is a huge step up from Destiny 1. It is more dynamic. There's more going on screen. The levels are more detailed. It looks great. It looks fantastic. I played the Strike first on the PS4 Pro at 4K. It looked marvelous. There's more to say about this, and I'm going to get to that in Chris Moore's question next. Just saw a Luke Smith interview. He confirmed no dedicated servers. Also, 30 frames per second on the console. Okay, dedicated servers. This was a long shot ask, in my opinion. I'm not going to lie. I never really expected it. I wanted it. I know that a lot of people expected it. To me, it was always a long shot ask. It would have been great to get. Bungie is saying that they've improved their netcode. Hopefully that is true. It's still going to be peer-to-peer netcode, though, for PvE and PvP. On consoles and on PC. Hopefully the PC sees some benefit being on Battle.net. We'll have to wait and see. It's a disappointment, but it's not as big a disappointment to me as 30 frames per second on the console. The console looks fantastic. I played quite a bit on the PlayStation 4 Pro at 4K in PvP and in PvE. It looked fantastic. It's a huge step up over Destiny 1. It's disappointing it's not at 60 frames per second. When you go and you see it, you can see basically the place was set up that there was a huge room with PlayStation 4 set up for playing the first mission, playing the Strike, and playing some PvP. Then there's a smaller room close by that had all the same stuff on PCs, and when you go into that PC area, you can see the difference immediately. It's running at 60 frames per second, if not higher. Apparently, the frame rate is unlocked on Destiny 2 on PC. It was running on very high-end hardware, 7700K i7 processor, water-cooled, and GTX 1080 Ti graphics card, very high-end. And from what I heard, the rumor was, and it was strongly rumored in quite a couple places, that it was running on medium settings, not ultra, on the PC. It looked fantastic. It ran smooth as butter, and it is unfortunate that the ad experience is not getting transferred over to the console. That being said, there are some differences to the gameplay of Destiny 2 compared to Destiny 1 that I think it's less of an issue than we might have thought. But when you compare the two side by side, it's a big difference. It's a big difference, and that's all I can say about that. Uncrasmatic says, was there anything said about crossplay between PC and console users? There is no cross-play, definitely. But I suspect you might mean like cross-saves, meaning that if you have a character on your PlayStation, you could also play with that same character on PC. And there was nothing said. Most of the people that I talked to either said, you know, I don't know anything about that, or basically that. We don't know anything about that. I think Tefty got a firm answer, but I'm going to let Tefty answer this in DCP tonight. So I'll actually ask this question to Tefty Uncrasmatic during DCP because I'm pretty sure he got a firm no, but I can't remember. And there's so much going on yesterday that I can't remember this one. I think it was a firm no, but I'll ask again. John Michael Mueller, how does the slow time to kill for primaries feel in the Crucible? Too slow? Slow movement help? Make it feel clunky? It definitely doesn't feel clunky. And to me, the time to kill felt great. It felt like there was a very big emphasis on gun skill, hitting headshots, ducking behind cover when you needed to regen your health. There's a lot of balancing that could still happen between now and the beta. From what we heard, this was actually like a 3 to 6 month old build that we were playing yesterday. And between now and the beta, a lot of stuff can change. How powerful weapons are, how fast health regens, that kind of stuff could change very easily between now in the beta and when the game actually comes out. But I did like the time to kill for primers because there are not a lot of one-shot kill weapons around. If you're using a pulse rifle, an auto rifle, or a hand cannon, it doesn't matter what you're using, it is very important to get headshots to improve your time to kill to win gunfights. So gunplay and gun skill is going to be very important in the Crucible. Didn't feel too slow. It felt right. And it definitely didn't feel clunky. It might have felt clunky in the first couple of games, just as you were getting used to your new abilities. There's new buttons to be pressing. There's new controls. Like, you have more abilities than you used to. So there's a bit of getting used to. Your Guardians definitely move slower than what you're used to. But it definitely felt good. It felt like Destiny. Hendrix Alive 2324 says, who was the funnest Bungie employee at the event? I've got to cop out a little bit here and say that it's actually the actress who plays Eris Morn. It was Morla Gorondona. She's been a guest on the Destiny Community Podcast before, and she was awesome there. It was great meeting her there. And I'll tell you, what really impressed me, you guys might know this, before every show, I ask you guys for questions that you'd like either the DCP crew to ask or our guest to answer during the show. And I always at whoever the guest is when I ask for those questions. So she sees a lot of those questions, or they see a lot of those questions. After the show, when she was on, this is the first time I've ever seen that. She actually went into Twitter and answered like every question that had been asked for the week. So all the questions that we didn't get to during the show, she actually went and answered. And then yesterday, she was on the floor like during the entire event. I was so impressed. She's so fun to talk to, and she's so friendly, and she's got so much, so much passion for the community. To see her just talking to people, I think for the entire event, I don't like. There's so many times I'd walk by and she's talking to a different group of people. I think she had lunch with Pope Bear. Like, I was really impressed with her. I continue to be impressed with her. To me, she's without a doubt. I know it's a bit of a cop-out answer because she doesn't directly work for Bungie, but she's gotten a paycheck from Bungie. So, therefore, I'm going with Morla Gorondona. Tristan S. says, if it is in 30 frames per second, does it seem smoother because of the resolution? I think it felt a little bit smoother because the field of view is a little bit wider than what we're used to in Destiny 1. In Destiny 1, we have a very narrow field of view. Imagine your field of view being closer to a TV. The TV takes more of your total eyesight, whereas if you move back, that TV takes less. It felt like you were moving back in Destiny 2 as compared to Destiny 1. It felt like you just had a wider field of view in Destiny 2, which does help because when things get close, you can see more of what's going on around you, which is helpful even at 30 frames per second. Also, it felt like a lot of the gun battles were happening further away because of the level that we played. That's kind of how it was designed. So 30 frames per second didn't seem as bad as it does in Destiny 1. I don't think it was because of the resolution. I think it was just the way things were designed. The field of view, the way weapons worked, the way the map we were playing worked. More is going to be said about 30 frames per second in the months to come. I think once you guys get your hands on it with the beta, you'll kind of get what I'm saying. It's not as big a deal as I thought it was going to be, but it is disappointing that it's not 30 frames per second. Tigers says, what do you think about the old subclasses coming back with new tweaks? I was disappointed to see that initially when I saw them appear in the reveal during the the live stream. I was like, oh man, they're bringing back the gunslinger, they're bringing back striker, but once I actually started playing with them, they felt like new subclasses. The striker still has the Fist of Havoc, but it's a roaming super now. It does far less damage per strike, but you're going around and doing it over and over and over again. He's got a shield that he can put down in front of you. They've got a lot of them have new abilities and feel very fresh and new. The gunslinger has like 5 or 6 shots instead of 3 shots. He now has this kind of slide move, the shade step move, that you can actually reload your weapon while you're doing it, which makes you very nasty as a gunslinger in a gunfight, because if you think about it, you can be mid-gunfight, run out of ammo, shade step behind a cover of some sort, come back out and keep firing because your gun is automatically reloaded. They changed up these older subclasses enough that they feel very fresh and very fun. And I gotta say, I think I was kind of wrong about that subject. I did not want to see the old subclasses return. I wanted fresh and new. And they did that with the old subclasses, which is really quite interesting. Tom P says, thoughts on 4v4 in all PvP modes? Kind of bummed that there's no big team type games. The clan will not be the same without 6v6. Tom, I'm not going to lie to you. It did not occur to me about the clans, these clans like yours that used to play a lot of 6v6. I was in pure excitement mode about 4v4 because it played amazing on the map in the game mode they provided to us. We had one map, we had one game mode. It did not occur to me that similar to when we didn't get a raid in House of Wolves, how clans would break up because of it, this could have the same effect on clans in Destiny 2, and that is kind of a bummer. But I will say this, 4v4 felt awesome. One of the things that was explained to us at the event was that 4v4, always having the same amount of players spawn in, no matter what game mode you're playing, means that they could design the maps more specifically to support the number of players, as opposed to designing some maps with 3v3 and some maps with 6v6. 6v6 game modes and 3v3 game modes require different kinds of spaces, and having one map that's designed for both is much harder than having one map designed for 4v4, and then you can have either objectives or deathmatch or whatever. Didn't hear about any kind of big team. They didn't say they wouldn't have other types in the future, but for now it's going to be 4v4, which means that the next iteration of Trials, I would suspect, is going to be 4v4, which could be very interesting as well. Do feel your pain about having a 6-man clan that can't necessarily play PvP together. Although I do think that 4v4 is a good step moving forward, but I hear you. Hank Carver says, what's the ammo economy like in both PvE and PvP? Giving out rockets seems bad, but limiting sniping to only once a game is also bad. All right, Hank, I understand this is a huge change. I think what they are going for here is that anything that can one-shot kill is now going to be a power weapon that is going to be treated similar to how power weapons were treated in in Halo. In the Halo franchise, you had your primary weapons, and then if you wanted something that was capable of a one-shot kill, be it a sniper rifle, a rocket launcher, or a shotgun, you had to go to a place and get it, which was often contested. To wield that power, you needed to fight for it and to earn it. And that's how power weapons are going to be. Anything that can kill in one shot is now going to be a power weapon. That's not to say that you can't always run a sniper. There was, in the build we played, there seemed like there was plenty of power ammo. If you were keeping your eye open for it, they were kind of these kiosks that were hanging on the wall. You walk up to them, you hold the button to open it up, and then you would get your power ammo, which is usually fairly generous, like 4 shots with a sniper rifle, or a couple of shots with a grenade launcher. I'm not sure exactly how. It was enough to get a couple of kills with, though. But the thing was that everybody on the map was alerted that, hey, this guy just got power ammo, and he got it from this location. So everybody on the map now knows that exactly what you just got and exactly where you got it. I think it's a smart move moving forward. I can't wait to play more of it, and they can always adjust how much of it players can get during a PvP match, which I think is going to aid the balancing. I understand that if you were a sniper main in year 2 of Destiny or a shotgun main in year 3 of Destiny, how this could be concerning, but I think it's going to lead to a more balanceable version of Destiny. B. Purry says, emotes, quality? Can you have more than one assigned/equipped? How many did you see? What's the point of frame rate and netcode without emotes or without dances? There were a lot of emotes that I saw. Apparently, one of the things they did not leave out of this build were emotes, because it seemed like each character had a ton of them. I did not notice how many specifically there were, but they're definitely making a return. I would say that the control pad on the PlayStation controller, it seemed like all 4 directions controlled an emote, which anybody who thought that it'd be nice if that would like pop a heavy for you or something like that might be disappointed by that. And it seems to me that it's cool to have emotes on that D-pad, but some of those buttons could be used for more useful things. But we'll have to see if that changes in the future. But there's definitely emotes, and they're definitely on the control pad. George King says, I like unified ability across subclasses, but Shade Step seems so much weaker than Titan Shield and the Warlock heal / damage pool. Is that true? Initially, I can see why you're saying that, but the thing about Shade Step is you can select a couple of abilities for it. One of them is to automatically reload your weapon, which I find to be an extremely useful perk. Once you get used to using this thing, in PvE, your DPS goes up. Imagine, you pump all your shots into the boss, then you Shade Step, and then you do the same exact thing. That increases your DPS in a pretty significant way in PvE. And in PvP, it's going to get you out of a lot of shitty situations really quick, because imagine you're in a gunfight or you just finished a gunfight and another Guardian comes around the corner thinking he's going to just finish you off because you're out of ammo and low on health. You Shade Step behind cover. While you're Shade Stepping, it reloads your gun and you pop out and you nail him with a few headshots and he's gone. I understand it initially it's not as cool as a shield or a health or a healing and damage pool, but to me it's a purely offensive weapon it's pretty nasty, and I don't think we can count it out yet. George Villalobos says, explain weapon types, please. Not primary, special, heavy. I read a hands-on that says we can't have a sniper and a rocket launcher at the same time. Well, that's kind of true, Jorge. You can have a sniper and a rocket launcher, but you're going to have to switch it out, and you're probably going to lose your ammo when you do it. But you still have you have spare weapons that you can bring along. So you might want to use a sniper for the first half of a strike, then switch to a rocket launcher at the end, or a grenade launcher or a shotgun. Maybe you want to bring a shotgun for the first half of a strike and then switch to a sniper halfway through. But no, you can't be running a sniper and a rocket launcher at the same time. And you're going to have to manage your power ammo accordingly. And in PvP, it's just a way of limiting the amount of things at any time that can one-shot kill you. Bungie found this to be frustrating, and they didn't want to move in that direction. So now you're going to have basically 2 primaries. One is kinetic and one is elemental, which is actually really fun because you can run a hand cannon and an auto rifle, or a scout rifle and a submachine gun. You got a lot of options for what kind of primaries you want to run because of that. And it ended up being a lot of fun and very strategic. There's just a lot less one-shot kills. There's less shotgun warriors and snipers hanging out around every corner. You're not gonna run into 3 snipers camp in one corner too often, just because of the way power ammo works now. Skinny Choctaw says, I noticed that super energy charged slowly. Do assists, revives, etc. help it charge, or is it on a set charge time like other abilities? I believe assists and revives and etc. will help it charge. One thing to remember is this is an early build, so anytime you see damage numbers or the lack of intellect, strength, discipline, or the charge time of abilities or super energy, this is a build that they said is between 3 and 6 months old at this point when we played it. By the time we get a beta, it'll be a totally different build. By the time we get the game, obviously, a lot of stuff will have changed. So how fast super energy charges and what causes it to charge faster will change in the future, almost guaranteed. How fast your abilities charge. Glimmer, we didn't see any glimmer in the game. We didn't see any stats with intellect, strength, or discipline in the game. We didn't see any kind of legendary marks. We didn't even see legendary engrams. We saw no drops at all associated with PvE or PvP. So all of that obviously is very subject to change for the beta and for the full release of the game. So at this point, I wouldn't worry about how fast things charge. They actually said that the new special abilities were charging faster just so that we had more chances to use them, so we could get used to them a little bit during this reveal. DJ says, how much and how fast did the Warlock ability heal for? Also, how much did the increased damage seem to help? Also, looking forward to DCP today. I'm looking forward to it too, man. Thank you, DJ. It did seem to help. There's a point at which the PD podcast guys were playing against the Crucible radio guys, and they popped 2 Warlock abilities on top of each other. One was for healing and one was for extra damage, and they team wiped us in a hurry. I can't give you specific numbers, and if I could, those would probably change by the time the beta came out. It did seem to heal quite quickly, and it did seem to add to the damage factor quite a bit. I would probably consider it somewhat close to what a Ward of Dawn is capable of doing now, and it was a very deadly set of talents. Wilson309 says, does D2 feel like a different game while keeping the core gunplay we know and love intact? Yes, it does. It feels like Destiny, and that's the best thing, Wilson. Like, that's what I'm so happy about. Fundamentally, it feels like Destiny with a little bit of Halo sprinkled in. Definitely has some Halo stuff sprinkled in, but it definitely feels like Destiny. But it doesn't feel like an expansion. It doesn't feel like Taken King or Dark Below or Rise of Iron. It feels like a legit sequel to Destiny. It feels like moving from Halo Combat Evolved to Halo 2, where, you know, we had all this stuff and now we're ready to really perfect it, or going from Assassin's Creed to Assassin's Creed 2. What we've learned, we had all these great ideas for Destiny 1. What we've learned, we've been able to build on, and now we've released Destiny 2. That's how I assume that they would kind of talk about it. It feels like a brand new game in the Destiny universe, and that is awesome. It feels great, Wilson. I can't wait till you get a chance to play it. H. Mead Sensei says, are you going to play on PS4 and PC? I know I will. Yeah, that's my plan. The rumor is, I think it's been confirmed, possibly. I think it has been actually confirmed. It's that the PC version is going to launch much later than the PS4 version, which sucks because all those PC guys that were really hyped about playing it are going to have to wait. And that's really too bad. I'm really disappointed by that. I wonder if that is a marketing decision. Maybe the PlayStation, because the PlayStation has such strong branding with Destiny, I wonder if they asked them to delay it. They might have paid Bungie and Activision to delay it. I don't know. Or maybe it just needs more time to bake, but it certainly felt like the superior version of the game when I played it yesterday. But yeah, that's the goal. I'll probably be playing it on PS4 and PC. And the PS4 version is very good, don't get me wrong. The PC version is just a little bit better. Dustin Aker says, what were the biggest improvements in your opinion? I'm going to say the gunplay felt like a big improvement. In PvP, it felt like I was less worried about just getting rushed and one-shot killed by a sidearm, or, you know, obviously just mowed down by a sidearm, or one-shot killed by a shotgun, or sniped. It felt much more like I could be mobile without worrying about just getting one shot. I could move around the map. I could strategize with my teammates. It was all about gunplay. It was about getting headshots. It was about crispness of play. The levels felt well designed. PvP was a huge improvement. I intentionally played the story mission once and the strike once because I don't want to kind of ruin that stuff for myself later. We're going to get a chance to play a lot of that in the beta. The PvE stuff felt more bombastic and more beautiful. And there's a point at which, I'm sure you guys saw it, you're fighting alongside Zavala, and Zavala's talking to you, and he pops a Titan bubble for you to hide in. That was an amazing thing. We saw it, right, during the reveal, and then we got to play it, and it didn't feel less special after we had already seen it. So that was an amazing moment. That is a huge improvement, too. So there's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff has changed, and most of the stuff, I'd say, is for the better. I can't think of anything that I'm like, that's really worse than what we had. Everything seems to be better. Rick Brooks says, was there any mention of our Grimoire score transferring over to Destiny 2? I don't want to lose my score. No mention, Rick, but I would assume that it'll be there. Again, this is an early build, so things like Glimmer, Grimoire, Legendary Engrams, Marks, like whatever economies they're going to put in there, they weren't in this build, but I would expect to see them added for the beta and then again for the full release. Davey McDave says, what's your honest opinion of the frame rate on PS4, Briar? It's disappointing. It's not a deal breaker, but it's disappointing. Norseman 2 says, console versus PC, which one did you prefer and how much better is it on PC? I prefer the PC version. It's smoother. It looks better. It's better on PC, but it's not. Again, I'm going to be very happy playing this on a PS4 Pro. Luke Marshall says, do you think the 60 frames per second on PC will create the PC Master Race debate and split the community in half? Does not bother me. It's 30 frames per second. There will be some people who move to PC once it comes out, and I wouldn't blame them for that because it does look like a superior version of the game. However, a lot of people are going to stay behind, even though they have the capability to play it on PC because of their friends list, and I think it's not a bad decision. You know, games are more fun with your friends, and wherever your friends list is probably the best place to play Destiny 2. Tristan S. says, he means whatever Warlock subclass using the Dawnblade super is. I keep calling Dawnblade Sunsinger because it's got the wings, it's got the fire, and I'm sorry. On Twitter, I'm sorry. It's Dawnblade. Dawnblade is the new Warlock subclass. It's not Sunsinger. I haven't played Sunsinger in Destiny 2. It's Dawnblade. Sorry. Kyle Allen says, snipers in the heavy slot is a mistake. My biggest plus about this game was being a precision shooter with gun skill. Now they're taking it away. I understand your concern, Kyle, and I don't discount it. I would say you're going to want to play the game because it is going to be different. Anybody who is a sniper main in year 2 or a shotgun main in year 3, it's going to be different, right? You're not going to be able to run around with these things as primaries all the time. You're going to have to watch for power ammo to come up. You're going to have to collect it. But that being said, in the version of the game we played, it felt abundant. You could go get it. It was there. Yes, you had to take yourself out of the fight to go and get it, or you might have to fight another Guardian for it. But it was out there. People were using power ammo, and if your preferred way to play is with a sniper, then that is going to be viable for you. You're just going to have to adjust your playstyle a little bit. Obsidian Wolf says, my main question is, do they feel similar yet different enough to where this won't just feel like Destiny expansion? Yeah, similar to Wilson's question, it feels like a brand new game in the Destiny universe. It does feel very different. Movement of Guardians is different. The graphical fidelity is different. The subsystems are different. Even your supers, even though they're called the same thing, are different. It feels very much like a sequel. Martin Jimenez says, we having a special edition of Guardian Community Podcast tonight. So I actually just released a special edition on my Twitch or Twitter, YouTube channel with Tefty and Pope Bear. We had an opportunity to spend about 20 minutes talking into a microphone about our very initial thoughts. And I put that up on YouTube. You can watch it right now. SWAT, are there dedicated servers? No, there are not. Richard says, do the weapons still have the classic Destiny feel to them? And do the weapons have the same stats such as range, stability, etc.? So the stats are a little bit different, but they still feel the same, and they behave somewhat the same too. I'd say the biggest difference is auto rifles, because they split auto rifles into 2 categories. The really fast firing rates are now submachine guns, and they are exclusively viable at very close ranges. And then auto rifles feel more like an assault rifle, where they are viable at longer ranges. So auto rifles feel different. Hand cannons feel very much the same as they do right now. There was aim assist on them, and there was aim assist on them on the PC. Not necessarily in the way that when you drag your mouse, your crosshair with your mouse across an enemy, it's going to like slow down a lot. But when I was firing at an enemy, I felt like there was forgiveness for headshots. So there was some aim assist even on PC. But hand cannons definitely have range to them. They drop off at longer ranges. You're going to want a scout rifle to complement your hand cannon, or a pulse rifle, something for longer range engagements. But hand cannons were very good. I had a lot of success with them, especially at close quarters, and they do have that classic Destiny feel. Stephen McPherson says, so do all previous subclasses return plus one new one for each class? That's a little unclear, Steve. I can confirm the Striker is definitely back. I can confirm the Gunslinger is definitely back, and that all 3 classes are getting at least one new subclass. So that's really all I can confirm at this point. Right now, we played the new Sunsinger. I'm already saying Sunsinger. Played the new Warlock subclass, but we didn't get to play the new Hunter or Titan subclass. We got to play the old ones there. So it's still up in the air a little bit, Steve. SDK says, after playing Destiny 2, can you tell us anything about weapon mods? Not really. We know that they're there. We don't know exactly how it's going to work. I think we're going to have to wait for beta 2, or the beta, to find out. My suspicion is that weapon mods are going to be things that you find in the world and then can apply to your weapon. So if you find a sight that you like, if you find a grip that you like, or a stock or a barrel that you like, you can modify your weapon. But we'll have to wait and see. We're not sure yet. It looks like that may be the direction they're going. Again, we're playing an older version of the game, and that may be changed by the beta and by the full release. Ang Bangarang says, from what you played in Destiny 2, really as fun as they say, or will it be, or do you still have worries of them pulling a Destiny 1? Ang, I guess there are some worries still for me. One of the things that they said that struck me as worrisome right off the bat was when they were talking about the European Dead Zone as a patrol area, and they said it's twice as big as the biggest area they've ever made in Destiny. That didn't seem that big. Yeah, okay, so imagine a place that's twice as big as the Cosmodrome. That's pretty big, but I'd like bigger. So that was a little bit worrisome. The story was very cool, very bombastic, very, very exciting. It was awesome to be fighting alongside Zavala and Ikora, but can they maintain that clip for 10, 16 hours? Can they do more than 4 to 6 hours of a story mode? Will the story continue after the first day or two of the campaign? As you progress your Guardian, can they find a way for your story to continue as well? So it's not, you're still finding new bits of story a week into the game, 2 weeks into the game. That would be really cool. I have worries about Destiny 2, but I don't have any confirmed things that I'm upset about, if that makes any sense. The unknown is a little bit worrisome to me, but everything I've seen so far is very positive, and I'm very happy about, with the exception of 30 frames per second on consoles. Richard says, is there any noticeable damage drop-off from hand cannons and autos? So many questions. Yes, for hand cannons, without a doubt. For autos, I suspect so, but I did not see the numbers. I could not compare the numbers. But with autos, just like as you would expect, one of the limiting factors of long-range auto rifle usage is going to be accuracy. They definitely felt more accurate than auto rifles do now, especially in the Crucible, because I feel like the close-range viability of autos doesn't need to be worried about so much because you have a submachine gun subclass to do that. So, again, the submachine guns and the auto rifles are now 2 different classes of weapons. They behave very differently. Autos are much more viable at long range. Submachine guns are not viable at all at long range, but absolutely deadly close range. Destiny Guardian says, is Countdown S&D from COD? Oh, man, it feels so much like Search and Destroy. The new game mode feels so much like Search and Destroy from Call of Duty or from Counter-Strike. It is very much inspired by Counter-Strike. You can tell. It is very fun to play. It's very compelling. Having those objectives really do promote people moving around the map, not camping somewhere with snipers. And I can see something like this becoming the new Trials because it solves a lot of the problems that we have as a community with Trials right now. Dominic Zulo says, do you know about a third class yet? No, we don't. We'll have to wait and see. That may come with a DLC later, too. It may not be in Destiny 2. Vinny says, the reveal looks and feels more Halo-esque. A lot of people were referencing Halo when describing the game. A lot of the time I spent yesterday was not only playing the game, but also talking to other people who had opinions that I respect. And quite a few people mentioned Halo and gun battles in Halo, especially in PvP, and how it felt more like there's more precise aiming, more precise gunplay was involved in Destiny 2 than in Destiny 1, and it reminded a lot of people playing Halo. Enrique said, Briar, I see you play Destiny 2 on the PS4 Pro. You think it would be worth it to buy the Pro even though I have a regular PS4? I'm going to say that depends, Enrique. If you have a 4K TV, probably you're going to want to play Destiny 2 at 4K. It looks great in 4K. It looks stunning. Like, I'm not going to lie. It looks awesome. If you have a 1080p TV, I don't know that there'll be any benefit to having a Pro with 1080. You're not going to get 60 frames per second. That was the main benefit that we were hoping for. If that's not true, I don't know that there's any reason to upgrade. Christo says, are subclasses reimagined or are there new additional subclasses? Both. Some subclasses are returning. We may see that happen more in the future with DLCs. And some subclasses are brand new. So there's a mix of both, which is kind of a cool idea. I like this. Gil says, so no more intellect or strength stats? Yeah, they weren't in this build of the game. They weren't in this build that they showed off, but that doesn't mean they won't be in Destiny 2. It just means they weren't in this build. A lot of stuff wasn't in this build that you might expect to see in Destiny 2. So we'll just have to take a wait-and-see approach. That being said, I wouldn't miss them if they were gone. Landon L. Armstrong says, any news on frame rates and if PvP is 4v4 exclusively? I will miss 6v6 game modes. Frame rates are 30 frames per second on PlayStation. Not sure about Xbox, but we can assume the same on Xbox. And unlimited frame rates on PC. I will miss my 6v6 game modes. I hear you, buddy. OMG, it's Scoot says, guided games is by far one of the best ideas ever. Completely takes finding groups to be more positive outcome. Well done. So this idea of guided games is basically a cool way of it's LFGing players with clans that have open spots, either for PvP or for Nightfall strikes or for raids or whatever. And it's funny, the crowd inside that auditorium were amped and raring to go, and everything they were saying, we were cheering. We were so happy to see everything. And then they started talking about matchmaking, and it was like silence in that room. And then they started to explain what they were talking about, and by the end of it, you could tell that room had been won over. This idea of guided games where you have a person who wants to do a raid but doesn't necessarily have friends online right now to do it can kind of put themselves into like a matchmaking system that shows them clans that need one or two extra guys to do a raid or a Nightfall or some PvP. And you can browse the clans and kind of accept or decline the invites based on the description of the clans. And it seemed like a really elegant and simple and easy way of doing this in-game, and I think they nailed it. I really do. I think this guided games feature is going to be really well-liked and really useful, and hopefully can lead to some lasting friendships for Destiny players. I really think Bungie nailed it here. Hermitage says, how did the 4v4 feel if you played it? Not a fan of 3s myself. Now, like to hide my weaknesses in a chain with more links. 4v4 felt good. I think I said this before, but it allows them to build the levels knowing exactly how many players are going to be on the map at all times. One of the problems that Destiny 1 had is they had this idea of 6s and this idea of 3s, but they used the same levels for both. So you have small levels where it felt like you were literally getting spawned into the middle of the enemy team and you were dead before you could even move, or you'd have to run across the map because there's nobody anywhere near you. With always having every game mode be 4v4, it allows them to build maps knowing exactly how many players they have on each team, where these spawns need to be, like that kind of stuff. I think it's a good move. And, you know, I could see people who really like sixes being disappointed, but I can tell you it was a lot of fun to play. Blue Moxie says, will there be a content drought in 2 years? I certainly hope not. From what Activision has been saying, it doesn't appear so. But I certainly hope not, Blue Moxie. Dishon Frederick says, will Sweeper Bot get the finishing blow on Dominus Gal? Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, the Sweeper Bot is pretty nasty. To somehow get all those brooms back from Guardians. I mean, those Guardians were not wanting to give that broom back. He got that fucking thing, though. Alpha Ping says, do you think Bungie showed or talked about too much? That's a concern, Alpha, but I don't think they did. They showed us one game mode. They showed us one story mission. They showed us one strike. If they're going to show more at the beta, but if they can keep this story somewhat secret, I think that'll go a long way. Don't give us all the exotics. Don't give us too much. I really don't want to see every exotic on their Instagram before the game comes out. I really hate that. You know, finding and discovering the new exotics is super fun. So I share your fear, Alpha Ping. At this point, I'd say no, but they need to be careful moving forward. Evan Meyer says, from what you played at the event, did it make you get more hyped for the beta full game to release? Yeah, man, it really did. Today I am confronted with a Destiny 2-less world. I've got my PlayStation here in my hotel room. I can play Destiny 1, but what I want to play is Destiny 2, and I can't wait until the beta comes out and then the full game comes out and we can play it every day. Yeah, I am really hyped for Destiny 2. What I played increased my hype. It did not decrease. Greg says, also, what class do you want to start with at this time? I'm not going to lie. I really like the new Gunslinger class. I think it is badass. Also, the new Warlock class, throwing those swords was really fun, and their jump, I think, is much improved over what it was. Also, flinging a sword around like Captain America makes that Titan look really good. I think right now, though, I think that Warlock class looks really good, and I really like the new Gunslinger. The Gunslinger is dope. I really like the Gunslinger right now. Alan says, any more info on the speaker? Seems to be some debate if he's dead or just missing, aka kidnapped. All right, let's start off with saying this is very spoiler-ridden territory. Obviously, I'm going to speculate a little bit, but we know that Gaul wants to harness the Traveler's power. He believes the Traveler should pick in the Cabal, not us, to empower for the Golden Age. And I think he would see the speaker as being valuable as a resource for communicating with the Traveler. So I would suspect he is not dead. I would suspect he is captured and will have a mission to go rescue him, which could be a cool mission, actually. Aqua, and this is our last question. Aqua says, not really Destiny related, but what surprised you about meeting the rest of the DCP crew? The warm embrace, like instantly feeling like it wasn't a big deal, like being able to hang with them like they were friends for years. It was a little disarming. It was a little disarming. Like, it was great. DCP crew is as much shit as we give each other on the podcast. We do it out of love and out of friendship, and it was really fun hanging out with them in real life. Everybody was awesome. Patrick, Miss 5000 Watts, Pope Bear, Tafty. I just had fun talking and interacting with everybody. The most surprising thing was how it felt like seeing friends again, not for the first time. It was disarming, and it was awesome, and I really had a blast. So that's going to do it for this video. I'm sure it's been a long one. I think it's 44 minutes. Oh my God. That's a lot of questions, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will see you guys later. What am I going to use for footage for this thing?